Happy Sunday, everybody. I hope you all are doing well. Today, I am coming on here to give you a word that God has given me. And before I get started, I just want to first start off by saying I apologize if my energy seems a little low today. Um, it's funny because the word that I am bringing forth to you all today, I'm actually kind of going through that myself. And so I again want to just apologize in advance if my energy is just a little low. It's life. We go through things, and I'm gonna get through it. It's just one of those days. I'm in a rough season right now, but that is okay. Um, but even through that, I have to be obedient to like what the Lord is telling me to do, which is to release this word today, and I hope that it is a blessing to somebody as always. So you all know by the title of the video that we're going to be talking about the difference between depression and spiritual warfare. And so I want to preface this by saying that I am a mental health therapist. I 100% believe in depression and anxiety. So I don't want it to at all come off as if I'm just completely dispelling that, because that's not the case at all. I think that prioritizing your mental health and just your overall wellness is super important. So I don't want it to come off as me saying that. But before being a therapist, I am a woman of God first, and there are things that I know um, that happen in the spiritual that I can kind of that it helps me to see beyond like some of the things that we experience here in the physical. So I just want to start off by saying that first. But now we can go ahead and jump right into the word. And so, yeah, like what's the difference between depression and spiritual warfare? And you know, the Lord really had to show me that it's not so much like what's the difference between the two. It's more of recognizing that depression is a symptom of spiritual warfare. And that is because everything that happens here in the physical, it first happens in the spiritual. So there's nothing that we experience here in the physical that has not happened in the spiritual first. And that is because God knows everything. He sees everything. He sees way beyond us. So there's a lot of things that happen in our lives. Not a lot of things, all things that happen in our life. God knows about it first. So it's manifested in the spiritual realm first before it even reaches us in the physical. So a lot of the symptoms that we feel, like restlessness, hopelessness, helplessness, um, even sometimes suicidal ideation, that is just again a symptom of something that's happening more like deeper, right, within ourselves. And because we are connected to God, it's so important that we recognize when He's trying to communicate with us. And when we experience symptoms of depression and spiritual warfare, that's His way of really trying to communicate with us that, there's something deeper that's happening, that's going on. So, in what ways do we know like that we're experiencing spiritual warfare? So that's the question. So I'm going to share with you all what God has given me. Okay. So spiritual warfare occurs when there is distance between you and God. And that is because there is always this constant battle between the flesh and the spirit, right? And so if there's any distance between you and God, especially if you have had a previous encounter with God, and let's just say you kind of strayed off path, which we've all done that, there is conviction that takes place, right, in the spirit. So the spirit and the flesh is battling because the enemy wants to keep you in the world. The enemy wants to keep you away from God. But the spirit doesn't. The spirit wants you to die to, wants your flesh to die to like old desires and old ways of thinking and old habits that kind of keep you stuck in a negative cycle. So there's this constant tension and pushing and pulling of the flesh and the spirit. And because of that, there's spiritual warfare occurs. And so you may start feeling just extremely exhausted, right? Like, my flesh is telling me this, but my spirit's telling me this. And that exhaustion can sometimes become so debilitating to the point that you don't even want to get up. You don't even want to get out of bed, because it's this mental gymnastics. It's this mental struggle. As soon as you wake up, that, oh, here we go. Do you know what I mean? And the devil loves nothing more but to keep you stuck in that. If he can keep you stuck in old habits and old patterns and old cycles, is keeping you from leaning into your flesh and really wanting to follow him. So that was kind of a long way of me saying one of the ways that we experience spiritual warfare. Another way we experience spiritual warfare is when you really choose to turn your life over to God. So when you really make the choice to say, hey, I'm going to turn my life over to God, I'm going to die to my flesh, you can best believe the temptation is coming, okay? The people that the enemy uses, it's not really them, but the enemy can use people, and they are coming, okay, to distract you or to talk about you or to bring you down or whatever the case may be. And you may find yourself just feeling super duper overwhelmed by that. And again, that can make you feel like you just don't even want to get up and face the day. And that's just a sign of spiritual warfare, because you're living for God. And when you live for God, sometimes we do suffer. It's not going to always be a walk in the park, but it's important that we try to still push through that, even when we don't want to, even when we don't feel like it. So that's one way. Another way you can really identify that you are experiencing spiritual warfare is when you are getting close to like a breakthrough or a blessing. Oh my gosh, like, the enemy hates for you to succeed. The enemy hates for you to go to that next level. So he's going to do anything and everything he can to like throw curveballs at you from every direction. And I mean, it can literally be in the form of anything, right? To tempt you or to upset you or to bring you down. And that's when like, okay, all of this hard work that I've been putting in to worship God, to serve his people, to live right, to die to my flesh, I know that my blessing is coming. So you're on the cusp of receiving a blessing when like all of these different things are like just coming at you. That's spiritual warfare, and it's important to be able to identify what stage you are in life, so that you know why the spiritual warfare is happening, right? And in each case, like, I just would say, lean into it, because when you lean into it, you're leaning into God, because he's the only one who really can identify that for you anyway. But I want to leave you all with a Bible verse that is from Ephesians 6:12, and I really want you all to go read it. But in short, it just says that we don't fight against flesh and blood, but we are fighting against the spiritual realm, against things in the spiritual realm. And so I want you all just to kind of keep that in mind. Now, on the flip side of that, again, from a therapist perspective, I do want to say that depression is real, right? It is definitely real. And there are things that you can do to make sure that you are getting the help and the support that you need to get through that. So, of course, number one, having a strong network of friends and family that support you, that can help you. But also, going to find a therapist. Like, if you know that you need help in that way, find a therapist. Like, there are people out there to help you and that want to see you grow and succeed. The third thing is your primary care physician. Sometimes the things that we experience as far as different emotions that depression and anxiety can bring up, sometimes there could be things going on in our bodies hormonally that contribute to that. So please make sure that you are going to get your annual checkups, right, and that you're prioritizing your overall wellness. But I just wanted to share this with you all. I hope that it is a blessing to someone. And as always, I love you all. And until next time, God bless you.